Hi, and welcome to Tremco Live, where we're socially distant but technically connected. I'm Marcy Tyler, one of your hosts for Tremco Live.
And I'm Paul Hugenboom. I'm your other host, and I'm the president of the Tremco Construction Products Group. Marcy, a tremendous collection of brands, companies, product systems, and most of all, people.
People, yes.
All over the world.
All over the world. And we're getting really excited as we continue through these months and as we approach summer, we're going to be able to reach out to so many people. And as we have been doing ever since Tremco Live started, I think it's 54 weeks ago.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe, a whole year, and well, we're emerging out of COVID.
Yeah, we are emerging out of COVID. So we're going to continue to do these, and we're going to have just even more interaction with all of you. So we're really looking forward to that opportunity to get out there, and also for you all to get out there and share your videos and your testimonials with us. Excited about that. So Paul, how have you been?
I've been great. As you mentioned, I guess it's not officially summer, but we've certainly had some great summer days. And I think the mood of everybody's mood is picking up. The guidance that's coming out is all
it's all good. It's feeling positive. Yeah, and if you're a Tremco employee, we all know that we're closing in on our last official day of our fiscal year. So next year will be Happy New Year.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. And it's been a very difficult year, Marcy, but it's also been a very successful year in the business.
Yeah. It has. So if you've been joining us regularly in the month of May, we're talking about making May memorable, looking at the history of technologies. We talked about concrete. We talked with Keith last week about stucco and how it progressed into something like continuous insulated finish systems. Was his terminology, CEIFS?
Yes. We threatened to put them on our on our branding committee.
Exactly. Yep. And then this week we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. We're going to talk specifically about an organization dedicated to the exterior and insulated finish systems company. So we're really excited today to be able to bring on our guest, Scott Robinson from EIMA, as EIMA is celebrating their 40 years of being in this industry today. So welcome to Tremco Live, Scott.
Thank you, guys. Very exciting. Very exciting that we have hit the 40th anniversary as well.
Yeah, it's great. We're happy you're able to be with us on the actual anniversary day. We're excited about all the information you're able to share on a regular basis, and we have a great video that we're going to send out as a follow-up from today as well. So lots of great information to be shared. So excited about that. So tell us, 40 years.
Yeah, it's so we obviously always talk about the year that EIMA was founded in 1981, and it just started to pop up last year with, I think the whole struggle that 2020 was, and we started to go through and figured, hey, there's no way that we could possibly actually find the exact date, and lo and behold, thanks to our neighbors at the Associated Wall and Ceiling industry, they just so happened to have a newsletter online that we were able to dig up, and it gave all the information. So, what we learned, and I think what everyone knows, is that EIFS came to the US in 1969. Drive-It was the first, and from there, the 70s happened, this energy crisis occurred, EIFS and others got really popular, and through that, EIFS became increasingly popular through all these different markets. And that's kind of what triggered, as we've gone through these old publications, that the manufacturers were like, hey, it's time to have our own association.
That makes a lot of sense, to be able to have that focus on something like EIFS. Now, I don't know if you caught our broadcast last week. We had Keith Simon on with BES, a Terracon company, and he did a great analogy, right, Paul? He said he thinks of a building without EIFS as being naked, and he thinks of a building with EIFS as being clothed.
Yeah, which that's a metaphor I'm going to steal for the rest of my life.
We thought that was great, a great analogy. But he helped us go through some common misconceptions about EIFS, where him and some of his colleagues in Texas like to call them CEIFS, which you might have heard that explained as well in the past. So, but it was very interesting program for sure.
Right. Yeah, he's very knowledgeable, and frankly, like you just said, that, you know, anyone who's going to go out there and try to address the misconceptions is helpful to us.
Yeah. And we love this house that you have pictured here. It looks amazing.
Yeah, this is, it was recognized a year ago. I believe it was a year ago in the EIFS Hero Awards. It's around Rochester, New York. A Drive It project that I believe a couple people at Drive It will claim it's one of their favorite projects they ever worked on. And I mean, as you can see, multiple finishes and everything with it.
Yeah, that looks great.
It's really, it's cool how it's only essentially 2 colors, right? But yet very vibrant.
Yeah, I like that. It makes me think of the Securic Expert 430 orange.
Yeah, we love it. You and I do love orange.
We like that orange. Yep.
Well, so here you go. Here are a couple of the old photos that we were able to track down. Go figure, May 28th, 1981 was the day that essentially these 8+ manufacturers came together. All of them were meeting, not all of them opted to join, but they determined that, you know, now over 13 years in existence, that the EIFS industry was picking up real fast, but there was no real organization and there was no opportunity that, or platform that they were all coming together to deal with standards and testing. And they talked a lot about the ethics of a new industry and really wanting that uniformity. So here they were in Washington, D.C. at the AWCI headquarters at the time, and determined that they were, you know, simply if they wanted to push the industry forward, it was time to create an association. So I think it still took a little bit of time to get going, but they claimed that it was on this date that they came to that agreement. So lucky us that, I mean, it's today.
Absolutely. I love looking at like old photos like that, because I'm sure some of these people, I mean, the founders of this, you know, this organization, it's just incredible to see that history.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, as we were talking, and even as you mentioned with Keith, that we've got this great moment where it's 40 years. However, you know, that period of time has also had a combination of barriers that we've had to remove, but still during that, the system clearly continued to advance. And I think that we look at those as any industry would, that, hey, we're strong enough, we truly believe in the system that we have. So, you know, we've got a pretty good argument to make. And I'm sure that Keith touched on many of those too, as you mentioned. So I think these were kind of the 4 big points that I wanted to mention, because, you know, as the founders said 40 years ago, that a lot of it was about that standards and testing. So 1999, EIMA becomes ANSI accredited, you know, essentially saying that EIMA was to this incredibly high standard. So I think that kind of got the ball rolling. 2005, EIMA partnered with the Department of Energy through Oak Ridge National Laboratory, down the image there of the panels down just outside Charleston, South Carolina, and Hollywood. Did the whole combination of a moisture and thermal performance study. That kind of really got the ball rolling in terms of showcasing the fact that, hey, not only are those moisture issues in the past, but the energy performance of EIFS was far superior to the stucco, the brick, and just some generic siding as well. So this image kind of walks through that they had different vapor barriers being used, thickness. My understanding is these panels are still intact, so there's a possibility of going to pull some more data in the future. 2009, huge moment.
I'd love to check that out and go on a little trip and check that out.
It was only recently brought to my attention that they may still be pulling data on that. So it would certainly, I think we'd all be intrigued now.
Yeah.
2009, obviously the building codes. EIFS got listed, so now we're over a decade in those. I think that's incredibly helpful as any. And in 2013, this was obviously that big moment with ASHRAE's 90.1, the 2010, which mandated continuous installation. And whether, you know, it's the CI is going to be that silver bullet for anybody that can. And I think that everyone has strived to meet that goal. And we always, you know, kind of put our hands up, and it was, well, EIFS just does that already. So that's great that everyone has to modify their buildings, but you know, the EIFS industry was sitting back just telling everyone, you know, come over here, we're already doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just part of your installation, right? All these other systems, they can try to achieve it, but we're looking at thermal bridging, right? And even just the possibility of, you know, performance that could be damaged or cause issues because of all the mechanical attachments. So there's definitely some additional care we need to look at, but you're right. I mean, it's what EIFS has always done.
Yeah, Marcy, what are your thoughts on how well, I don't know, understood or promoted or adopted CI is at this point? If that's 2013, it's 8 years later. What are your thoughts?
I think we're still learning. I think it's hard because it's mandated that you need continuous installation, but I don't know as if anyone takes to that next level of saying, and this is how you're going to do it. And I think that's the advantage with EIFS, right? Is that they're like, well, install EIFS and then you have it, right? So and I think that's true for even like install a continuous air barrier. It says install a continuous air barrier, but then there's a lot of complexity on how do we actually achieve that, right? So I think that kind of goes hand in hand with that.
So the fact that EIFS just by its very design provides that. Well, Scott, I would think that's been a great accelerant. What have you seen or experienced?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because I think what people are always looking for is not just solutions, but the easy solution. And EIFS simply just meets that. And if you're going through the checklist of, okay, well, here are the things I want, here are the things that I'm told I need, we don't have to get too complicated with it. And just like you all have said, that there's just not enough, even, you know, this was 2013, so almost 10 years later, you know, a lot of people still don't either understand or they're trying to make these modifications still to get ahead. So the barrier side, I throwing out 4 because I think these will continue to be the ongoing, and certainly leaving 2020, it will be even more so. Advocacy as a national association is one of our primary focuses. If you have an issue, you can call us, we'll take the call. Codes, anything from legislative to regulatory, protecting EIFS interests in getting it included in the IBC and IRC, to protecting the way that NFPA 285 was being run, that certainly helped manufacturers. Education and promotion, and if we didn't have a labor shortage issue already, yeah, it's not just the construction industry anymore. It's like we're all talking about that topic. So I think these are the, you know, if there was a purpose with creating EIMA 40 years ago, and these were not the considerations at the time, these are certainly the considerations and why you would keep EIMA going for another 40.
Well, and obviously, you know, and you already mentioned Barbara Catlow earlier today, you know, obviously consistency. Mike Murphy was very active, right? And now we're with him retiring. We've got a couple other representatives from Tremco. I know Dave Maynard, I think, is on the board, getting involved in the technical committee, and of course, just, you know, all the great Drive It guys that have been involved through the years. You know, we're obviously here for you in any way that we can to help promote that. But I know you guys have done such a great job. There is so much great information on your website, as it, like, I love the hero hidden in plain sight. There's the video I think we showed last August when you were on, we showed that, but then just comparing different technologies, you have a lot of great resources that are definitely helping with that.
You know, you always want to make sure that in the digital era that we're in, that the more we can put on there, the more people can find, but also, you know, maybe you don't want to call, and maybe you don't want to, you know, send an email. So we try to get, it's a lot, but making sure that there's tools and kind of a guide to answering your question along the way too.
Yep.
So you know, I just mentioned this because I think this was one of the big moments that we'll say over and over. And this kind of set a roadmap for how you could approach not just going into a small locality, but how there is language out there and a lot of organizations that want to approach things from a statewide level. And this goes back to that inclusion in the International Building Code, that there are a lot of things out there that are restricted, or that, you know, people try to piecemeal around that are included in these international codes. And so many of us have gotten together, you know, even competing interests out there, and made these pushes that said, look, localities should not restrict something that's included in one of these national model building codes. And in 2019, it was very apparent for everyone in Texas, and they ended up passing this, which essentially wiped out 230 plus restrictive ordinances against EIFS. And it truly, there's still, I think as we talk about CI and the fact that 2013 to now there's education that needs to be done, there's still some educating that goes into this code, but we know Tennessee recently followed suit, and some other states are looking at it again.
Yeah, that's great. So a definite victory we want to recognize and continue to spread that message. And then, of course, your hero awards. Those are always great to take a look at. I just think it's so interesting. We did a Tremco Lab where I'm like, name which one of these is EIFS, and of course it was. They were all EIFS, right? It was a trick, but I mean, of course, people were like, "Oh, Marcy, we know they're all EIFS." But I'm like, I can't believe the different. It's amazing what can be done with EIFS.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's the house that we just talked about in Rochester, that you've got a combination where it looks a little stucco or limestone and then metallic, and they're all EIFS finishes. And I think that's the great thing about this program, that this really has become the promotional tool of EIMA. And you've got the field house here, which was one of the 3 hero projects this year. And as the architects and others will receive copies of this, they start to come back with the questions of, I didn't realize that you could do that, or we still thought that maybe EIFS was only a stucco appearance, or you couldn't do these shapes and images. And yeah, so this project is, the whole program has been great. We actually have heard from other countries too on their interest of trying to mirror something like this now. So unfortunately this year it was done virtually, but I'm sure we'll make up for it early next year.
Absolutely.
Marcy, the trend that I think we're seeing a lot is in panelization. So I think Scott, that's to me one of the really exciting trends right now is towards panelization, and I think that's going to be a big plus for EIFS.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll tell you, the project that won Hero of the Year, it was actually their first time doing a panelization project, and that was all I'd say.
That's great.
Absolutely right. And frankly, I think panelization, when you talk about the labor shortage, that might be another reason to that we start to segue or move even faster in that direction. But for the last couple of years, we've heard loud and clear from the contractors. We have a contractor on the board of directors now. We're trying to get their voice elevated to the level of everyone else's within the industry that, that's their blood, sweat, and tears. And so we launched a EIFS Craftsman campaign with their help. A contractor committee was created. Late last year, we did a whole EIFS Craftsman video trying to put you've got these gorgeous buildings, but there were actually incredible people that were the ones behind that building. We're trying to put the face on the building and not just, the attractive image. We've also heard from them and some other individuals that they want some sort of a certification out there that comes directly from the association and not us pointing people in every direction. So we're hoping later this year, very beginning of next year, that the EIMA University program will in fact launch. So we have many members actively involved in that right now.
That's great.
Scott, is that really the first formal certification now in the industry, or has that been done before?
It will be for EIMA. Yeah, so the first one from the actual, I'll say, EIFS industry. But there are other programs that we partner with, and we'll continue to do that. This will just fill a gap that, frankly, we hear from contractors now and again that the only way they can get the job is the spec says they have to be EIMA certified. Well, that didn't exist until, frankly, later this year. So we're just trying to, again, pull a bunch of data, give them another, I think it increases that value proposition of EIMA and the industry as a whole. And frankly, all education is probably good at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been just talking about the craftsman aspect of it. I think we mentioned Gator. Let's talk Gator. We talked about him again. We talked to an installer, and it was incredible. He was able to do the stucco stipple look, or just mimic some of the look of these older buildings on a campus, and it was just incredible.
Well, how he partnered up with the designer, right? So it wasn't the designer creating the design; it was really Gator, our guest, and the designer together.
Yeah.
bringing things to life for the customer.
Absolutely. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, people are doing amazing things right now with these technologies. And, you know, I think that every single time I talk to anybody about the construction industry, it's that statistic that I think we all have to remember, because it's one of those that we kind of can pass on to others. But, you know, there's that scary number that 41% of the current construction labor force will retire by 2031. And we've challenged some of the contractor firms out there to, you know, take a look at your employees, throw an age next to them, and now age everyone about 10 years and see what it looks like. And, you know, if we're not recruiting younger, but if we're not recruiting more women and more minorities and everyone else into the field, we do run into an issue. And so we've done a lot in terms of partnering with Build Your Future, with Generation T, that are really taking on the goal of bringing in this new, you know, the younger millennials, but Generation Z into the mix, trying to highlight that maybe college isn't for everyone. And even though I loved my college experience and I wouldn't pass it up now, but there's some folks that that's not the right path, and trade schools are. And, you know, I think it's why we're trying to put a face more with these individuals. So it's not just a building and the contractor has to wear the hard hat, but they can do some incredible designing, some engineering, and be, you know, someone that they never imagined before. So we have created some of these graphics trying to draw people more into the benefits of the trade. And I think that that'll continue to be one of the larger priorities, because none of us could have obviously predicted 2020, but even worse off, it took an issue that we were having and it made it even worse. So this.
Paul and I've had the conversation about the labor force, and of course the retiring labor force.
Yeah, just the demographics, Scott, in this country, right? There's an expression, your destiny is your demographics. And, so it's great to see EIMA really trying to be proactive in this field. So we really look forward to supporting your efforts.
Absolutely. We're making some changes here on our campus. So when we're able to be up and running again, you know, if anything we can do in terms of helping out with that education, we'll definitely support you.
Yep.
It's just, there's just so many incredible things when you look at building with something like exterior insulated finish systems. So obviously, you know, my colleagues at Drive It have been great advocates, and we look forward to supporting them and continuing to be advocates in the industry, so that we can focus on all those true benefits of building with EIFS versus some of those misconceptions. So Keith Simon will be back with us in June. He's going to do a whole hour on those misconceptions. So we're looking forward to having him and being able to promote just that with him, and obviously, you know, in support of EIMA and EIFS for sure. But there was one thing we wanted to do for you, Scott, before we close for today. We wanted to make sure that you knew that we are proud members of EIMA. So we made sure we got ahead of that. So if anyone's watching, if you're a proud member of EIMA as well, make sure you print this out, take a picture, post it on all your social media posts, so that everybody knows that you too are a proud member of EIMA.
That's great. We appreciate it. And like you said, all the individuals at the beginning, and there are individuals from Drive It who retired that we still go back to for information and help along the way. So you guys have certainly been a proud but helpful member too.
And we'll do a shout out to Bill Preston, because I think he's retiring very soon. I worked with Bill many, many years ago, and you know, by the time Drive It came together with Tremco, he was already retired. I told him, darn it. So it was great. We've had some conversations since then, but I understood. So we'll do our shout out to Bill as well. Congratulate him for all of his efforts, all of his dedication to the industry. Done a good job there. So, well, thanks Scott for being able to join us today. We hope you have a great long extended weekend. We wish you well. I know you've got some exciting news hopefully coming soon.
I hope so.
And I know I should be heading to Buffalo soon. I'll definitely get my colleagues. We'll stop by and we'll visit you.
Right.
Visit you soon. Maybe I'll even bring Paul with me one of these days.
telling you, it's warm right now. It feels like summer.
Yeah, I feel like Cleveland and Buffalo, they're very similar.
Absolutely. Except in December when your first 3 feet
Yeah,
of snow.
yeah, we won't be seeing you then. Well, thanks so much. Thanks again, Scott. Thanks for all your work with EIMA. Thank you, EIMA, as an organization. Happy 40th. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We wish you a great, long, extended weekend if you're in the U.S. And I know our Canadian friends celebrated last week, so they had this week actually off, this Monday off. So thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Be safe. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.